Welcome to another Co-Mind Report. I'm Chris McCleary, and I've got some expanded sections of the Co-Mind, and I would really like to get your feedback on if this is helpful or not helpful. We'll get started right after this. I am Chris McCleary of the NationalDreamCenter and ProjectComind.com. We're looking for the biggest influences that might be affecting the way you think, feel, and behave on any given day. And by doing so, it gives you more autonomy to surf the cosmic waves. Now, before we were mostly interested in astrology, the bigger collective influences, astrology and the DreamBot runs. The DreamBot goes out and figures out what everybody's dreaming about. And by doing that, you can figure out what the main memes are in the subconscious collective mind. And that also is an influence. But what we've got today, I'm going to start with the major headline for today and see if this adds any benefit. I mean, this is the news. People do look at the news, and it is an influence. Now, am I influencing you by putting this information out there? I'm not sure. But anyway, Trump is nominating Brett Kavanaugh to be the next Supreme Court Justice. Next, I'm looking at numerology, which is an influence. I'm not sure exactly how much influence, say, compared to astrology. And then even if we get into astrology, which part of astrology or which aspect is the most dominant right now. So this is the kind of stuff we're going to be looking at as we go forward. But the 10th of the month in astrology is all about action, and it is very ambitious. With that, let's go into astrology. I'll move my mug over here. We have the moon in Gemini, and people might get a little bit more chatty. There might be a little bit more emphasis on learning and emphasis on the intellect and the mind. We still have the grand water trine, but now let me get my cursor again. So the moon down here in Gemini, sun in Cancer, and we've got this grand water trine with Jupiter going direct. That's what a lot of people are talking about. And Jupiter going direct is moving us into a place where there's not a whole lot. And keep in mind that a lot of this is apparently is dependent on your astrological alignment and what houses and what different influences that you have. But Jupiter in general is going to bring about more outer luck to you from outer experiences. In other words, you don't have to make your luck quite as much when Jupiter goes direct. And so that's going to be interesting as part of that grand water trine, Jupiter being in Scorpio. Okay, that's the major astrological alignment. And I'm going to stop there because most of our work today is going to be with DreamBot. And the DreamBot looks at the collective dreams, and it looks at what everyone is obsessed with in dreamland. And the meme today is intellect. And that should remind us of the moon in Gemini. In particular, it's the active intellect. So the overactive mind, we'll start at the bottom. Intelligence, worry, active, learning is very Gemini. Wandering, that's a wandering mind. Health of the subconscious skull is obviously the physical part of what we're talking about. And then perspective. Perspective is just the way that we interpret the stuff and the material in the mind. So with this all going on in the collective mind, or in the collective dreams, it looks like the dominant force today is not the Jupiter direct. I think that's going to depend more on the individual. I would encourage you to go look at some other folks as they talk about each constellation or each sun sign in relation to this Jupiter going direct, as it could be a big force in your life individually, but on a collective level, it does look like the mind is the big one. So the collective mind is overactive, maybe not overactive, but it's active. And there's a chance that you can learn a lot today. Now, here's the kicker. So we're combining a couple of these different influences today, and it may not be about just today, but this mind is actually getting us ready for the eclipse coming in 2 days. That was according to one of the astrologers for Jupiter going direct. As Jupiter going direct in preparation for the eclipse, I would like to think, according to the collective dreamscape, that it's actually the moon in Gemini that's actually helping us get ready for the eclipse, because it's all about the mind. That's what she was talking about, the mind, and how you have to convert your negative thinking into positive. If you want something, a positive experience out of the eclipse, it all starts in the mind, so the individual mind. Thus, today, you have a couple days to get it together and start inventorying the subconscious material that's in your mind. Is it negative? Is it associated with your goals? So ultimately, we want to move it towards away from negative past into positive future, or even just a clear perspective. You know, perspective being the top word here in the Dreambot run. It is important just to have a clear perspective. So much of what we see in the world today is nothing more than just a regurgitation or a comparison of everything we've already experienced in life. And it clouds our view of reality. So we're not even really seeing reality clearly at all. We're seeing it more as a comparison from the past. So in other words, we're seeing the past every time we look around. So if you can just bring all this material to the fore, to conscious awareness, you can start to disintegrate how maybe the erroneous ways that you're applying your perspectives to the now. That, in my opinion, is the best way to proceed towards this eclipse. If you want your soul mission, we can go about it, well, really in 3 ways. You can just let it ride, not do anything that we're talking about today. And the risk there is that you've got your negative cognition and patterns that just continue to flare up and enforce and create the reality that you don't want. That's 1. 2 is you could switch that into more of a positive alignment. Positive alignment being hopefully what you're wanting to achieve is in alignment with your soul's intention. Now that goes back to a couple days ago when we were talking about making sure that your relationships are not egotistical, and also making sure that you're living in accordance with what the soul wants and not just what your ego wants. So it looks like all along we've been step by step in preparation for this coming eclipse. And right now, today, is all about the mind, the mental aptitude, the way that we perceive the world. So I just talked about 2 ways to prepare for the eclipse, but I think the best way, in my opinion, in my therapeutic work, the most effective, is to just get all of the old patterns and our ego desires, get them all down, and just see reality as clearly as we can in the now. Because our true selves is arguably only in the current moment. And by doing this, and we can live mindfully in the now all the way to the solar eclipse, we could bring out more of what is planned for our lives. So this is all about our soul mission and bringing down the ego altogether so that the soul can spring forth when it's ready on its own mission. The Jupiter thing is probably going to be really dependent on your aspect individually to Jupiter, but it could be a very important one. So I'd do some more individual work. I would recommend that for whoever's watching this. And so hopefully this has been of use. In conclusion, we're looking for the biggest influences, and right now it's apparently in the astrology, in the numerology, and in the subconscious mind or the collective dreamscape. It's all about your mind and the patterns that are in there. So before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notifications. Give me a thumb up arrow. But also give me some feedback on whether or not you like where I'm headed with these co-mind reports. We do need to include more influences in here. We don't have any data on which one's stronger. We don't have any data on whether or not comparing astrology to DreamBot. We also don't have the comparison between the biggest headline of the day or all these other things. So feedback is welcome. I don't have to have positive feedback. You can give me some negative feedback as well so we can start improving this thing. Have a wonderful day. We are the National Dream Center, healing the collective psyche, one mind at a time.